Hey guys, how's everyone doing today? Good, good, good. So we had some homework. What I wanted you guys to do was listen to the six passages, 1 minute each, and see if you can get the main idea. Vishu just said that the Florida passage you had to listen longer than a minute. We will see. I will be the judge of that. Maybe he's right. So this is just a skill, just a technique. Maybe it's not foolproof, but I think it works most of the time. So let's go ahead and listen to the first one. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Here we go.
Listen to a conversation between a student and a university employee.
Hi, I need to pick up a gym pass.
Okay, I'll need your name, year, and university ID.
Here's my ID card, and my name is Gina Kent, and I'm first year.
Okay, Gina, I'll type up a pass for you right away.
Great. This is exciting. I can't wait to get started.
Oh, this is a wonderful gym.
That's what everybody's been saying. Everyone is talking about the new pool and the new indoor courts, but what I love is all the classes.
The classes?
Yeah, like the swimming and tennis classes and everything.
Oh, yeah, but this pass doesn't entitle you to those.
It doesn't?
No, the classes fall into a separate category.
But that's my whole reason for getting a pass. I mean, I was planning to take a swimming class.
But that's not how it works. This pass gives you access to the gym and to all the equipment and to the pool and so forth, but not when the teams are practicing, so you'd have to check the schedule.
But what do I have to do if I want to take a class?
Okay, so she's obviously annoyed. What are they mainly discussing here? Yeah, they're mainly discussing A, everybody. So what the gym pass is used for. Now let's talk about some of the trap answers. Tell me, why is B a trap answer? It uses the word swimming. Why is C and D a trap answer? Because it uses the word classes, right? See these classes right here? However, remember, just because they mention the word classes doesn't mean it's the right answer. Are they talking about the schedule? No. Are they talking about the popularity? No. So the correct answer is A. Cool. Any questions about this one? All right. Cool. Let's go to the next one. Oh, we have a question from Dabo. Hey, Dabo.
Hello.
What's up?
So can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm fine. And you?
Good.
How to buy ETS material online? Like for
Where,
buying
do you live in? Did you say you live in Kenya? Is that where you live?
No, no, Ghana.
Ghana. That's right. Ghana. Do they have
I
Amazon in
live in
Ghana?
Ghana. Yeah.
Do they have Amazon? Does Amazon deliver there?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think so.
So the way that I get it, I mean, I can just tell you the way that I get it. Maybe you can talk to some people in around your country, or maybe even in the greater African area. The way that I get it is I just go to Amazon.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But on ETS website, for example, they have two different materials. I think it's soft copy and hard copy. Am I right?
Maybe you could do the soft copy. Yeah.
Okay, the soft copy, how will I get it if I buy it?
I'm assuming it's like a Kindle or a PDF of some sort. I'm not really sure. I have the hard
Okay,
copy.
but the
Yeah.
listening, but the listening portion, that's going to be the problem.
The listening portion, I believe they give you a link that you can go to download the audio materials.
And download it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe it's better to buy it directly from ETS.
Yeah, I think if you buy it directly from ETS, it's a little more expensive. So that's why I use Amazon, but I don't know if Amazon delivers in Ghana or if you have a similar service. I'm just not sure.
Oh, okay. I'll find out.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. And remember, Dabo, there's 3 books that you want to get. You want to get the official guide and the 2-volume test book. Each volume has 5 tests.
Okay.
Okay.
Official guide.
Volume practice, volume 1 practice test, and volume 2 practice test.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Hey, Dana, question?
Yeah, hello. I just want to tell him that actually Amazon is more expensive and they don't have the ebooks. But the problem with ETS, we're having a problem of when we want to buy. I think there's a problem between I couldn't buy them, and I am. Other people are saying that there's a problem the website, the Chrome or something. We have to change the. I would like to check if anybody's having this issue.
That's weird.
But
Where do you live?
I live in Lebanon
Lebanon, and you're having trouble as well?
with the ETS, but I'm asking my brother to buy it. He's in the USA.
Okay.
Okay, but actually ETS, and they, regarding the listening, they just downloaded for you. I checked it out.
Okay. Yeah. So
But
that's
the question is,
go ahead.
sorry, we need all of them. We need the official
No,
guide.
you don't need all of them, but if, in my opinion, the best way to prepare for the TOEFL is with practice tests. And if you get all of them, that gives you 14 practice tests. Like, for example, today for homework, I gave you the listening from one practice test. So it's a very valuable resource if you get all of it, but no, you don't need all of it.
Yeah.
So somebody
I tried-
somebody in the chat box is saying use a VPN.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so maybe if you use a VPN, you can trick ETS's website to, think you're in the US or something.
No, it's okay. My brother will get it. Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah, no problem. Somebody said, where did we post homework? We post homework in 2 places, on the Discord channel and on the dedicated page for this class. Sound good, everybody? All right, let's go to the next one. Now, keep in mind, this is a lecture, so let's see if we can get the main idea.
Listen to part of a lecture in a biology class. The class has been learning about birds.
Okay, today we're going to continue our discussion of the parenting behaviors of birds. And we're going to start by talking about what are known as distraction displays. Now, if you're a bird and there's a predator around, what are you going to do? Well, for one thing, you're going to try to attract as little attention as possible, right? Because if the predator doesn't know you're there, it's not going to try to eat you. But sometimes certain species of birds do the exact opposite. When a predator approaches, they do their best to attract the attention of that predator. Now, why would they do that? Well, they do that to draw the predator away from their nest, away from their eggs or their young birds. And the behaviors that the birds engage in to distract predators are called distraction displays.
Okay, what do you guys think here? Is it about various predators, predator 1, predator 2, predator 3? Is it about various patterns, pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3? Is it about giving food? No. So notice how I'm using POE here. So the correct answer is C. One way that birds protect their young. Cool. All right, let's go to the next one, everybody. 1 minute.
Listen to part of a lecture in an architecture class.
Today, we're taking a little detour from the grand styles of public architecture we've been studying to look at residential architecture in the United States. Since this is something we can all identify with, I think it'll help us see the relationship between the function of a structure and its style or form. This has been an ongoing theme in our discussions, and we'll be getting back to it in just a moment. But before we get started, I want you to take a moment to think. Does anyone know what the single most popular style for a house in the United States is today? Bob?
I bet it's the ranch-style house.
Well, in this area, probably. But are we typical? Yeah, Sue.
How about the kind of house my grandparents live in? They call it a Cape Cod.
That's the one. Here's a drawing of what we consider.
Okay, so this one's a little bit harder. So he started by saying, hey, we're going to discuss form versus function, but before we do that, we need to discuss this very popular kind of house. Now, he didn't specifically say the reasons or the styles or the details or the differences, but from that, what can we infer? What do you guys think? Doesn't it seem like he's honing in on one particular type of house? One particular type of house? Right, so that's why you eliminate C, because it says styles of houses. That's wrong right there. Now, he never even talked about the decorative details, and then another thing is houses, right? That's another thing right there. And then finally, he's not talking about the differences between rural and urban. So, this technique, like we said before, it's not foolproof. And remember, if this was the real TOEFL, you could keep listening, right? You could keep listening.
Of a classic Cape
So let's keep listening for about a minute and see if we can confirm that the answer is B.
Cod house. These days, you see this style all over the United States, but it first showed up in the U.S. Northeast, in the New England region, around the late 1600s. For those of you who don't know the Northeast coastal region, Cape Cod is a peninsula, a narrow strip of land that juts out into the Atlantic. And so many houses in this particular style were built on Cape Cod that the name of the place became the name of the style. Now, why did the Cape Cod...
There it is. Did everyone hear it? Did everyone hear it? Now, why did the Cape Cod house become so popular? Think about it, right? So that confirms the correct answer is B. Any questions about this one? All right. Now, this is an interesting case where the speaker actually took a very long time to get to his main idea, right? It actually took him quite a while. He's like, we've been discussing and then form versus function and then but before. So there was a lot of kind of introduction there. Okay, let's go ahead and move to the second conversation. Here it is right here.
Listen to a conversation between a student and a professor.
Hi, Professor Atkins. You wanted to see me?
Hi, Bill. Thanks for coming. I wanted to talk to you about...
Is there something wrong with my research paper?
No, not at all. In fact, it's very good. That's why I wanted to talk to you.
Oh, thanks.
I think you know the department is looking to hire a new professor. Are you familiar with our hiring process?
No, but what's that got to do with me?
Well, Bill, we have several qualified applicants we're serious about, and as part of the interview process, we have them meet with a committee of professors and students in our department. They also have to give a talk.
You mean like a lecture?
Yes, like a sample lecture on one of their academic interests.
Oh, so you can see their teaching style.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. Makes sense.
So, I'd like to know if you'd be willing to join as a...
Okay, right there. She's asking him to join something. So, to discuss the student's grade on a paper, no, that's a trap answer. To inform the student about a change in his schedule, what? To ask the student to become her research assistant, what? Correct answer has to be B. Has to be B. Okay, any questions about this one? All right, guys, we're going to do two more lectures. Yeah, the TOEFL is more straightforward than you think it is, guys. Like I said, when they design this test, they design it in a very predictable manner because they have to. If they didn't, it wouldn't be objective. It'd be subjective. Is D a trap? D is a trap. Priyanka, can you explain why? So D is a trap because, remember, like, yes, okay, yes, looks good, and then boom, wrong. So if you actually read all of this to ask the student, it is correct answer, but it's wrong at the very end. Okay. All right, guys, lecture time. Is this the Florida one? Vishu said this one doesn't talk about the main idea in the first minute. Let's see if I agree.
Listen to part of a lecture in an environmental science class.
When land gets developed for human use, the landscape changes. We don't see as many types of vegetation, trees, grasses, and so forth. This, in turn, leads to other losses, the loss of animals that once lived there. But these are the obvious changes. But there are also less obvious changes, like the climate. One interesting case of this, of changes in the local land use causing changes in climate, specifically the temperature, is in Florida. Now, what comes to mind when you think of the state of Florida?
Sunshine, beaches,
warm weather, and oranges.
Yes, exactly. Florida has long had a great citrus industry, large orchards of oranges, lemons, and the like. Florida's winter is very mild. The temperature doesn't often go below freezing. But there are some areas of Florida that do freeze. So in the early 1900s, farmers moved even further south in Florida to areas that were even less likely to freeze.
Okay, so we have. What are you guys thinking here? Is it about the importance of the citrus industry? No. Is it about the use of computer models? No. So don't you guys agree it's either A or C? It's either A or C. So let's go ahead and listen for about 45 more seconds and see if we can find it.
Obviously, freezing temperatures are a danger to the crops. A bad bout of cold weather, a long spell of frosts, could ruin a farmer's entire crop. Anyway, before the citrus growers moved south, much of the land in South Florida was what we call wetlands. Wetlands are areas of marshy, swampy land, areas where water covers the soil or is present either at or near the surface of the soil for a large part of the year. Wetlands have their own unique ecosystems with plants and animals with special and interesting adaptations. Very exciting. But it's not what we're talking about today. Where was I?
Farmers moved south?
Oh, yes. Farmers moved south. But the land was not suitable for farming. You can't grow oranges in wetlands. So farmers had to transform the wetlands into land suitable for farming. To do that, you have to drain the water from the land, move the water elsewhere, and divert the water sources such as rivers. Hundreds of miles of drainage canals were built in the wetlands. Now, these areas, the new areas the farmers moved to, used to be warm and unlikely.
I think we found it. We found it. So it's about the land development kind of having problems or affecting the climate of South Florida. So it used to be warm, which means it's no longer warm because the land development drained all the wetlands. So yes, it does look like the correct answer is C here. I do agree that this one is pretty difficult. Did anybody look at the answer key? Is the answer key C? Okay, yeah, this one is pretty tough. Now let's talk about why this is so tough. Does she talk about a decrease in temperatures? The answer is yes. Does she talk about wetlands? The answer is yes. So can somebody tell me, why did I land on C? What was the reason why? A is missing something. What is A missing? It's missing the idea of land development. Isn't this a huge part of the passage? You know, they change the land, they change the land, they change the land. So if the answer choice doesn't have that, you can't choose it. Okay? All right, we have a question from Dana. Hey Dana, how are you?
Hi. It's not a question, but she specifically said that wetlands are not the subject of our lecture. So the fact that she said that means it's not the main idea. No.
Not necessarily, because she is talking about wetlands here. South Florida has wetlands, right? What she meant by that is not the idea of wetlands in general. She's saying that the land development of changing it from wetlands to something else. I think that's what she's saying. So personally, I wouldn't eliminate it based on that alone. The reason why I'm eliminating A is because it never mentions anything about land development. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm. Yeah, I do agree. She does say wetlands is not the main focus of our talk. Really, land development is the main focus. Okay. All right, guys, that was a pretty tough one. So in that case, we had to listen about 45 more seconds or so. All right, guys, let's go ahead and do the last one, and then we'll talk about new stuff. So here's the last one. Let's finish strong.
Listen to part of a lecture in a business class.
Let's get started. Last time we were talking about the need for advertising. Now let's look at how you can successfully call attention to the service or product you want to sell. To succeed, you've got to develop a systematic approach. If you don't come up with a system, a plan, you risk making decisions that waste money or even drive away potential customers. But what does a systematic advertising plan look like? Well, it covers what we call the 4 M's. The 4 M's: market, media, money, message. all are important areas to focus on when creating your advertising plan. We'll look at them one by one.
Okay, what do you guys think here? How to analyze various types? No. How to develop products? No. How to satisfy the demands? No. So the correct answer has to be C. Now this one is actually a little bit easier because she actually used the word succeed and successful and stuff like that. So sometimes ETS, they like to throw you a bone. Do you know what I mean by that? Throw you a bone. What do I mean by that? They like to give you kind of an easier one. Yeah. Okay. So today's lecture, the new stuff that we're going to talk about is note taking, and then when I know to take notes and when I get new information. So let me kind of tell you the theory behind TOEFL listening. TOEFL listening actually does not give you a lot of information. So kind of internalize this, everybody. The information to write down is less than you think it is. Okay? It's less than you think it is. That's number one. Number two, there's a lot of repetition. A lot of repetition. And if you can recognize this repetition, you don't really have to take that much notes. All right? Number three, in order to know when to take notes, you have to be able to notice when new information is coming. When new info is coming. Okay, so we're going to do one of these together. I'm going to pause it a lot and kind of tell you my thought process as we go through it. All right, so we're going to do the first lecture. So let's go ahead and listen to the first lecture here. Watch how I take notes.
Listen to part of a lecture in a biology class. The class has been learning about birds.
Okay. Today we're going to continue our discussion of the parenting behaviors of birds.
What would I write down here? Now, the reason I would write down something is because she's saying the word today. Does today indicate new information or old information? It indicates new information. Now, in many cases, they say, hey, recently we've been talking about da-ba. Do I write that down? No, because I don't care what they talked about in the past. I care what they're talking about now. But in this case, she did say today. So what am I going to write down? I'm going to write down the word behavior. But not behavior, just B-E-H. Okay, let's continue.
And we're going to start by talking about what are known as distraction displays.
Now, would I need to write this down on the real TOEFL? Probably they would give you a slide. You know, sometimes they show you a slide. And on the slide, it would say distraction display. So you probably don't need to write it down. You can write down a DD, for example, if you want to, something like that. Oops. My mouse is being weird. Hold on. There we go.
Of birds. And we're going to start by talking about what are known as distraction displays.
Now, did you hear the pause right there? Did everyone hear the pause? Okay. That indicates that new information is coming. In addition, do you see how she started her sentence with now? Does that indicate new information or not new information? This is very new information. So if you guys were taking notes here, you have to start taking notes. Here we go.
Now, if you're a bird and there's a predator around, what are you going to do? Well, for one thing, you're going to try to attract as little attention.
There we go. I just got the idea. Usually, what do these birds do? They try to avoid attention. And I'm not going to spell out the word attention. I'm just going to put the word ATT in like that. Now, a lot of you guys are saying hide or little attention. All of that is okay. Remember, you don't care about the words, you care about the idea. Now, good listeners make a prediction. Can I make a prediction here? I've already seen the word distraction display, and she basically implied that this is what they normally do. So what do they do in a special case? They do the opposite. The opposite, of course, being they draw attention to themselves.
As possible, right? Because if the predator doesn't know you're there, it's not going to try to eat you.
Do I need to write this down? Is this new information? Okay, oh, hi, okay, if they don't know I'm there. Okay, come on. Remember, you have to be kind of careful with what you write down and what you don't write down.
But sometimes,
But sometimes, is this new information? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If they start a sentence with but, yes, it is, right?
species of birds do the exact opposite. When a predator approaches, they do their best to attract the attention of that predator.
Now, because I predicted this, this should be very, very easy. Attract attention.
Now, why would they do that?
Now, why would they do that? Do I start taking notes, yes or no? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Remember, what she just said was now, which indicates, here comes an idea. And then what kind of idea? What kind of idea follows why? A reason. Now, do I have to write down the word why? No. But I do have to prepare my brain for a reason. Here it comes.
Well,
is that new information? Yes, it is.
They do that to draw the predator away from their nest, away from their eggs or their young birds.
Okay, we now have the reason. What are they trying to do? Remember, simplify it. What are they trying to do? They're trying to protect children. Isn't that what they're trying to do? Protect the young, protect the children, that kind of thing, right?
And the behaviors that
And, do I take notes? And, yes or no? Yes, you do. And indicates a new idea.
Birds engage in to distract predators are called distraction displays.
Okay. Now, in some cases, you get not new information. I'm not going to write that down.
And
do you hear that breathing? What that usually indicates new information. Right there.
There are a number of different kinds of distraction displays.
She just set up organization. Remember, this is what I talk about in the writing all the time, is it not? Your thesis should give the organization of your essay. Didn't she just give the organization here? She just said there are different kinds. So your brain should immediately be thinking what? 1, 2, 3. Kind number 1, kind number 2, kind number 3.
Most of the time, when birds are engaging in distraction displays, they're going to be pretending either that they have an injury or that they're ill.
Kind number 1, what is it? Fake injury or fake hurt.
Or that they're exhausted. You know, something that'll make the predator think, here's an easy meal.
Okay, and why do they do this? What's the reason? They appear to be an easy target, which of course means they're going to distract from the children, right? Isn't that what that means?
One pretty common distraction display is what's called the broken wing display.
This is an example. Should you write down an example, yes or no? Yes, you should. Yes, you should, everybody. What does an example do? Hey, remember, some of these listening questions are specific, factual, which means they're very detailed. They might ask you about this example. So here, just answer me this. Is this new information or old information, this example? This is new information. So, broken wing. Now, you probably don't need to write down more than this. You probably do. Yes, this is like a sub-idea. Exactly, Nefarious. This is a subordinate idea to the fact that they fake hurt themselves.
And in a broken wing display, the bird spreads and drags a wing or its tail. And while it does that, it slowly moves away from the nest. So it really looks like a bird with a broken wing.
Is any of this new information? No, yeah, none of this is new. So notice I'm not writing it down. I'm not writing down any of this. I'm taking a break.
And these broken...
And maybe a new idea. Did you hear the and in the deep breath?
Wing displays can be pretty convincing.
Okay, so do they look real or they don't look real? Yeah, they look real. She said that they're pretty convincing.
Another version...
Do I write this down, yes or no? Come on. This is obvious, right? If she starts a sentence with the word another, isn't this idea number 2? Isn't this kind number 2? So if you're taking a break during the lecture, during this part, you're in big trouble. This is important.
Of this kind of distraction display is where the bird creates the impression of a mouse or some other small animal that's...
Okay, what's kind number 2? fake be an animal. Okay. Fake be an animal. So number one is fake an injury. Number two is, you look like a mouse. Okay, interesting.
Running along the ground. A good example of that kind of display is created by a bird called the purple sandpiper.
Now, I don't really need to write this down. You can probably just write down the word purple.
Now,
Now, do I write this down? Yes or no? Now. Yes.
Purple sandpiper does is when a predator approaches, it drags its wings, but not to give the impression that its wings broken.
Don't write that down.
But to create the illusion that it has a second pair of legs.
Ooh, okay, interesting. Okay. Second legs. Keep going.
And
hear that deep breath?
Then it raises its feathers, so it looks like it's got a coat of fur.
Okay, then it raises its feathers. Okay, raise feathers, which looks like fur. All right, keep going. Remember, we need all this detail.
And then it runs along the ground, swerving left and right, like it's running around little rocks and sticks. And as it goes along, it makes this little squealing noise. So from a distance, it really looks and sounds like a little animal running along the ground, trying to get away.
Okay, so it just sounds like a little animal running around. This is a funny bird. A little animal running around.
Again, to the predator,
Again, take notes, yes or no? It depends. This is a new idea, but she could be just kind of rephrasing what she said before. So let's listen.
Looks like an easy meal.
Okay, that's not new information.
Now.
Here comes new information. Now.
What's interesting is...
This is new information.
Is that birds have different levels of performance of these distraction displays.
Now, let me tell you what I've noticed in teaching TOEFL in the past. People who are not good at TOEFL, they tend to start getting tired right about now. And I don't blame them. Have you ever surrounded yourself with a different language? For the first 10 minutes, you're like, this is really cool. I'm loving this. But then by about the 30-minute mark or the hour mark, you're just exhausted. Your brain is in overdrive. The thing about these TOEFL listening passages is they know this, and they will punish you if you turn off your brain right now. Do not turn off your brain. This whole idea, this new idea about levels, do you think it's important or not important? It's very important. I guarantee you there's going to be some kind of question about this levels idea. All right, so let's keep going. Levels of performance, right?
They don't give their top performance, their prime time performance every time. What they do is they save their best performances, their most conspicuous and most risky displays for the time just before the baby birds become able to take care of themselves.
Okay, so what do? They save it. They save the best for right when the babies can take care of themselves. And again, I'm taking really nasty notes here. It doesn't matter if only you can read it.
And they time it that way because that's when they'll have made the greatest investment in parenting their young.
Okay, here's the reason. Why do they wait for this time, everybody? Why do they wait? We have to write down the reason why. This is when they've made the most investment. Now, really good listeners do what's called inferences. Would the parent give a very good performance right after the baby is born, yes or no? No, they wouldn't. So do you see what you did right there, everybody? You just made an inference. Do you see how ETS kind of does the same tricks in the TOEFL and the GRE? It's just the GRE's on steroids. That's all. All right, so let's keep listening.
So they're not going to put on their best performance just after they've laid their egg.
Oh my God, I just said that. Do you ever wonder why native speakers can listen to English so well? It's because they predict half of what they hear. The same with you guys in your mother tongue.
Because they haven't invested that much time or energy in parenting yet. The top performances are going to come later.
Is any of this new information? Any of this whatsoever? No. It's all just repetition.
Now you have
Now, here comes a new idea.
some birds that are quite mature, are quite capable almost as soon as they hatch. And
Okay, so this is a new idea. You have birds that are mature right after they hatch. So let's see what she says about this.
in that case, the parent will put on the most conspicuous distraction displays just before the babies hatch.
So they'll do it in this case right before hatch. Okay.
Because once the babies are hatched, they can pretty much take care of themselves.
We know that.
And then you have other birds.
And then you have other birds. And see, like I said, this is where people start to get tired. There's only like 7 seconds left. Finish the race. Finish the race. Don't give up.
Birds that are helpless when they hatch. In that case, the parent will save its best performances until just before the babies get their feathers.
Right.
Listen to-
So in this case, you have birds that are helpless. And of course, the mom saves the performance. Okay. So if you do this technique effectively, if you write down only the new information, I think you guys will agree that the questions are actually pretty easy. So let me put the questions onto the PowerPoint. Give me about 1 second. Okay. All right, everybody, go ahead and answer this question right here, or these questions. Okay, I'll give you guys about 1 minute. Okay, let's take a look at this, everybody. And you have to be on your toes with the TOEFL, and I'll show you what I mean here. So according to the lecture, what do birds usually do? Isn't this kind number 1 and kind number 2? So kind number 1 and kind number 2. Kind number 1 is they fake like they're injured, which is going to be D. Kind number 2 is they act like another animal, which is going to be A. Now, that one is pretty straightforward, but I want you to look at 8. Remember, in some cases, birds will do the most conspicuous distraction display before they hatch. In other cases, they'll wait a long time. So can I choose A, yes or no? No. Can I choose B, yes or no? No. And it's not D, it's not after they've left their nest. You have to choose the answer that applies to all situations. It's just before their young become independent. So the correct answer is C. So do you guys agree, if you take effective notes, if you write down the new information, these questions are rather straightforward? And then before we actually let you guys practice, how do I know when new information's coming? What am I listening for? What words am I focusing on? So I'm focusing on pauses. I'm focusing on deep breaths. I'm focusing on words like now, and then another, and then other, and then however, and then words like but, and then words like and things of that nature. Okay, so you guys are going to do this now. I'm just going to play it completely nonstop. I want you guys to try to write down all of the new information you hear. Sound good? Okay, any questions? Okay, here we go.
Listen to part of a lecture in an architecture class.
Today, we're taking a little detour from the grand styles of public architecture we've been studying to look at residential architecture in the United States. Since this is something we can all identify with, I think it'll help us see the relationship between the function of a structure and its style or form. This has been an ongoing theme in our discussions, and we'll be getting back to it in just a moment. But before we get started, I want you to take a moment to think. Does anyone know what the single most popular style for a house in the United States is today? Bob?
I bet it's the ranch-style house.
Well, in this area, probably. But are we typical? Yeah, Sue.
How about the kind of house my grandparents live in? They call it a Cape Cod.
That's the one. Here's a drawing of what we consider of a classic Cape Cod house. These days, you see this style all over the United States, but it first showed up in the U.S. Northeast, in the New England region, around the late 1600s. For those of you who don't know the Northeast coastal region, Cape Cod is a peninsula, a narrow strip of land that juts out into the Atlantic. And so many houses in this particular style were built on Cape Cod that the name of the place became the name of the style. Now, why did the Cape Cod style house become so popular in the Northeast? Well, one reason is that it's a great example of form following function. We've talked about this design principle a lot, about form following function. And what did we say it meant? Someone give me an application of this principle. What does this concept that form should follow function, how would it be applied to housing design?
Well, if it means that the design of a building should be based on the needs of the people who use it, then, well, the architect has to be very practical to think about the people who will actually be living in the house or working in the office building, whatever. So for the architect, it's all about the users, not about showing off how creative you can be.
Good. Of course, for a Cape Cod house, it might be even more accurate to say that form also follows climate. Who knows what the climate's like on Cape Cod?
Cold in the winter.
And whenever I visit my grandparents, it's really wet. It's usually either raining or snowing or foggy, and windy too. I guess because it's so exposed to the ocean?
That's right. So take another look at this drawing, and you can imagine how this design might be particularly helpful in that kind of climate. Notice how the house sits fairly low to the ground. This relatively low, compact structure helps the house withstand the strong winds blowing off the ocean. And look at the slope of the roof. The steep angle helps keep off all that rain and snow that accumulates in the winter. Another thing, Cape Cod houses usually face south to take advantage of the sun's warmth through the windows. That's helpful in winter. Now, what can you tell me about the chimney? About its location?
Well, it's in the middle because does that have something to do with heating the houses? I mean, since the heat never has to travel very far.
That'd mean you can heat the house more efficiently, right?
Exactly. Now, see how the house has very little exterior decoration. And that's also typical of early Cape Cod houses. The wind was one reason, nothing sticking out that might blow away in the harsh weather. But there was probably another reason, not related to the climate, more a reflection of rural New England society back then. You see, Cape Cod houses were not built in the big cities where all the rich people lived back then. These were modest dwellings. The people who built them simply couldn't afford lots of expensive decorative details. But it was more than just a matter of money. In these rural areas, people depended on each other for survival. Neighbors had to help and support each other in a difficult environment. So you didn't want to appear to be showing off. You'd want to avoid anything that might set you apart from your neighbors. the same people you might need to help you someday. So all this helped to create an attitude of conformity in the community. And you can see why a modest, a very plain style would have become so widely imitated throughout rural New England.
It is plain, but, it's nice looking.
Good point. And in fact, it's precisely that aesthetic appeal, the purity, the nearly perfect proportions of the house, that's another reason for the Cape Cod's enduring popularity, even in places where the climate's so mild that its functional design doesn't matter.
All right, everybody. So hopefully you don't feel tired. Remember, TOEFL listening's like a marathon. You have to go all the way to the end because they might ask questions. Sorry, can everyone see my notes here? A couple of things I want to highlight about the notes that I take is look at all of the organization. See all the organization right here? Okay. Try to take notes like this. Whenever they give one reason or two reasons or three things, 1, 2, see, like there's no decoration for 2 reasons because of the wind, but also because of culture and society, things like that. And then I want you to notice whenever the guy was giving new information, he was always like, and there was another reason, that kind of stuff. Okay. So let me go ahead and put the questions on here and we'll go ahead and try them. All right. Give me about 1 second here. All right, everyone, go ahead and give this a shot. Take about 1 minute, 2 minutes. All right, what is mentioned in the lecture as an application of the principle that form follows function? Remember, this means a focus on the users. Okay, so which one says that? Which one says a focus on the users, everybody? This one's rather straightforward. The correct answer is going to be B. This is no different than GRE or any other thing on the TOEFL. Rephrase the question. Why does the woman refer to visiting her grandparents? Why did the woman talk about her grandparents? What was the reason? Was she talking about the history of Cape Cod? Was she talking about why she enjoys visiting rural New England? Was she talking about she's interested in residential architecture? No, she was saying she's familiar with the climate. Remember, she said it's cold, it's windy, it's wet. So the correct answer is going to be C. All right, go ahead and take a look at this one. Now, this one right here shows you the importance of taking good notes. What kind of question is this? It's a factual question, which means you have to take good notes. And here's another thing. If you get one of them wrong, do you get any points? No, you do not. So everyone, go ahead and try this one, 30 seconds. According to the lecture, what are 2 features of Cape Cod houses that were influenced by the climate? Go ahead. So the thickness of the walls sounds good, but did they ever talk about that? No. The slope of the roofs, yes. So why did it have a steep slope? Can you guys remind me? It was because the wind and the snow would fall off. That's why. And the rain and the snow. So that's true. The number of windows, no. The simplicity of the exterior, yes, because remember, the wind could blow things away. So they kept the outside very simple. So the chimney, did they talk about the chimney? Yes, they did. Did they talk about the size of the chimney? No, they talked about the location of the chimney. So the correct answer is B and D. Okay, one more, everybody. According to the professor, what contributed to the attitude of conformity? Why did people in New England all have this same house? What was the reason? Wasn't it because they didn't want to show off to their neighbors? If they showed off to their neighbors, the neighbors might get annoyed at them and then they wouldn't help them. So the correct answer is going to be what, everybody? The correct answer is A. People depended on their neighbors for their own survival. So that is basically TOEFL listening. We're going to have one more lecture, maybe two, on TOEFL listening. I'll give you guys some homework as well. One thing we haven't talked about on TOEFL listening yet are the listen again questions. The listen again questions are kind of their own animal, so we'll talk about those in next session. But let's do a quick recap here. Let's do a quick recap. In the first lesson, we talked about getting the main idea. In most cases, you can get the main idea after 1 minute. And the first question is always a main idea question. Number 2, in this lecture, what did we talk about? We talked about taking notes and when, more importantly, when to take notes. Whenever they give you new information, take those notes. Okay? So I'm going to stay here for about 5 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Nefarious, Greg, do I need to note any date or place of name? Not really, Nefarious. You don't really need to write down dates or places, but maybe time periods, 16th century, 17th century, but you don't need to write down like 1655. What's the duration of these lectures in the TOEFL? The duration can be anywhere from 4 to 6 minutes. 4 to 6 minutes. All right, we have a question from Dana. Hey, Dana.
Hi. Okay, Greg, you take notes with Sharp extremely well, but I do take notes. I take more than you do. Okay, I don't take the dates and everything, the details, but I really take more than you do. But I can answer all the questions. Is that a problem?
It is, because the reason why you probably take more notes than I do is because you're writing down information you've already heard. Okay, so you have to get into the habit of realizing that a lot of the information is repeated information. Like a lot of it is. So really, whenever you're practicing TOEFL listening passages, before you even listen, remind yourself, okay, I know a lot of this information is repeated. I'm only going to write down the new information. That's all I'm going to focus on. Make sure you intentionally work on that, be deliberate about it, and I think you can improve.
I think I'm scared to miss on any info.
Yeah, but I mean, if you continue doing what you've always done, are you going to improve?
No.
Yeah.
No, of course not.
Okay. All right, we have a question from Ayushi. Hey, Ayushi.
Hi, Greg. I did not quite understand about the homework thing. Can you explain it?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you homework, basically doing what we did here. I'm going to have you guys listen to lectures, listen to conversation, take notes on the new information, and then answer questions.
No, what did you mean by Discord or something? I'm not familiar
you mean where
with
is
it.
the homework? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
You can get the homework on the Discord server. Have you joined that?
No.
Okay, so you need to join that. If you go to member area, you'll see a Discord link right at the top. But at the same time, you can also go to the dedicated Season 2 TOEFL webpage, and you'll see the homework there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Let's go to Diana. Hey, Diana.
Hi, Greg. So I understood everything that you explained regarding taking notes, but my issue is that when I take notes, I just, write everything. I just
You have the same issue as Dana. The same issue as Dana. Here, put it this way. Taking notes about everything you hear is very similar to just pronouncing words in reading.
No, I'm not taking everything, Greg. My problem is I can't organize.
Then you have to notice the transition words. The transition words that the speaker gives is what's going to help you organize. So, for example, I'll give you an example. If you hear a professor say the first reason, what should you write down?
Reason 1.
No, 1, 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. Why should you write down 2?
Yeah, because it's going to be the second one next.
Yeah, so those kind of tricks, that's what you have to kind of really practice, organizing your notes as much as possible. Here's another thing, use space. Use space. Are you familiar with Python, the programming language? No. So basically it has a hierarchy. So for example, if you have a main idea, put the reason right here and put the example right here. Use space as a way to organize your ideas.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
Yep. All right, let's go to Alina. Hey, Alina.
Hi, Greg. Yeah, it's not a question. I just wanted to mention that sometimes this first question about the main idea, it actually asks about like the purpose, why the student came, and like they discuss completely different thing the whole time, but the purpose was like a different thing, you know.
On the TOEFL, the main idea and the purpose are pretty much the same thing. Yeah, I wouldn't make a big distinction between it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there is a situation like the person mainly came for one reason, but then they discuss completely different thing the whole time.
Do the completely different thing. Don't do the initial reason. Yeah, whenever they say the primary purpose, don't focus on the initial reason. Focus on what they're mainly discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Hi, Greg. I have a specific question. I'm quite familiar with your writing note technique, but would you recommend to us to use the same technique in the integrated essay, where we are given the lecture and the passage?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the writing portion, but for the most part, yes. But it's a little bit different because the lecture in the integrated writing is even more organized than this.
So meaning that we need to be aware of...
I'm saying it's even easier. I'm saying it's even easier.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So that means that we don't have to take too much details while taking notes?
The integrated listening lecture is so organized that you could even like create a template before you listen to it and go, okay, here's the challenge, here's the detail, here's the challenge, here's the detail. Yeah, whereas the lectures here are a little bit more unpredictable. So when we get to the integrated writing, you'll see that it's easier.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right, everybody. This was fun. We're going to do maybe one, maybe two more lessons on listening because we still have to talk about the listen again questions. We still have to get some practice under our belt. Remember, all of the material that I'm using is in 3 books. So the official guide, the volume 1 tests, so V1, and then the volume 2. In total, that's 14 tests. All right, everybody. Talk to you later. Have a great day.